Welcome to the Truth About Real Estate Investing show. My name is Erwin Cito. I am the host since 2016. We have well over 300 episodes of this show. And guess what topic keeps coming up in my DMs? You, our 17 listeners who've been DMing me, would like to hear from a litigator, a lawyer that specializes in suing people to guest on my podcast. You asked and you shall receive. I was introduced to three lawyers who are interested in coming on the show and interested in taking on clients to sue borrowers, to represent, well, probably the willing to represent both sides. Anyways, so I'm working on a few, and that's just the state of affairs right now in the community. Though I should note, the problems are generally isolated in certain groups. Unlike R.E.I and Rockstar, hence we just had CEO of R.E.I, Patrick Francie, on the show, and co-founder of Rockstar, Tom Karadza, on the show. Tom was just on. Nick was on roughly about a year ago to celebrate our 300th episode. Respectfully, I keep hearing news about investors within the community declaring bankruptcy or bankruptcy protection, where the investment strategy was on the challenging side, including major renovations like basement suiting or garden suiting or triplex conversions or whatever, in small towns with small economies. Some of these towns even lack the basics of real estate investing, like a growing population. Like Timmins, Ontario, where the population actually shrank, according to Stats Canada. Real estate investing works best in growing areas. So where areas have growing incomes, because growing incomes typically attract more people to move into the area, which pushes rents and prices up. Again, to pick on Timmins, Ontario, I'm sure it's lovely over there, home of Shania Twain. The population actually shrank. I've included in the show notes, I've included a screen capture from Stats Canada between 2016 and 2021. They actually shrank by a couple hundred people. Point is, most of Ontario did not shrink. Most of BC did not shrink. Why would anyone consider investing in a place where the population is shrinking? Sadly, I heard news that earlier this week or last week that one of the past guests of the show had declared bankruptcy. I don't know any of the details other than she was sanctioned also by her local securities commission, but I haven't heard about any wrongdoing, so I'll leave names out, and the episode will at least stay up until I have more information. I do want to warn and remind our 17 listeners that this is a recession that we're going through. I don't know if you want to, it seems like a recession. Real GDP has been declining for like 6 quarters. The economic picture for Canada is not that great right now, and partly due to historically high interest rates that we're in right now. So it should be no surprise that we're seeing bankruptcies among those who speculated, or they risked excessively, or they over leveraged. There was tons of lessons from the 2008 financial crisis, where those who went bankrupt could not make payments on their debt. Hence, it would make sense to not over leverage, which is kind of wild because private mortgages seems to be all the rage in certain circles. Versus back in my day, listen to me. I just turned 45 and I'm talking about back in my day. Prior to, I don't know, what, 2018, most joint venture deals, most OPM, other people's money deals, were for equity, not for debt. So at least with equity, yes, you give up half of the ownership, but you don't have interest payments that could potentially bankrupt you. So anyways, I do have an ask for you, my 17 listeners. If you do want to help people that you care about, then please share this show with them in my newsletter. We do vet guests on this show, and I've repeated many times on this show, I do not lend money privately. I've never found retail opportunities to lend to be worth the risk in the worst case scenario. Visa and MasterCard collect 26 to 29% interest on unsecured loans. Why would I accept 15 to 70% on a promissory note? The investment in oneself in one's own properties, maintaining direct control, ownership and control, still remain undefeated as the best investment in my experience. And I have over 45 clients to prove that, millionaire, multimillionaire clients to prove that boring investing works perfectly quite well. Terry and I are headed to Savannah, Georgia for our next stage of portfolio building. If you have any vacation or real estate tips, I am all ears. On to this week's show. We have returning to the show my friend Seth Ferguson, and I want to thank him for hosting the biggest real estate event of the year, May 24th to 26th. The Friday is more of a one-on-one for beginners. Then the main course is the Saturday and Sunday, and I'm excited to see all my friends there from the community there. Hopefully, our 17 listeners and we'll be there. I'd love to see you. Please stop by, say hi. If you see me, I'll stand out like a sore thumb. I promise you that. And also, I'm excited to see Wolf of Wall Street Jordan Belfort speak. I don't know his full story outside of the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. I know he did go to jail for doing awful, awful things with people's money, but I do know he's got some great lessons to share from his loss, and how if he could do it all over again, if he just played the long game and been more honest, he would have been like 10 times more successful. Hopefully he shares that story because I'd love to see it in person. Robert Hedgebeck of Dragon's Den and Shark Tank is the other keynote speaker, along with the secret guest Seth will reveal on this show. Seth's pretty awesome too. I enjoy interviews done by Seth, and I enjoy seeing Seth speak. I don't know if he mentions it on the show, but the feedback on Seth's talks is usually among the highest among his guests. So on today's show, Seth shares the journey to the third multifamily conference, how and why he chose these speakers, how this year will be drastically different than the years past, much new and improved, if you will. We'll discuss why Seth from Milton, Ontario owns no income properties in Canada and focuses his efforts exclusively on the southern USA, along with some of the numbers. So you may want to have a pen and pencil ready to take notes. And please enjoy the show. Also, multifamilyconference.ca is where you can find more information and get tickets. Just know that tickets go up over time. So the closer you get to the event, the more you're going to pay for tickets. Metro Toronto Convention Center is the location, Friday, May 24th to 26th. Yeah, please enjoy the show. Hi, Seth.
I'm sorry, I messed
What's
up.
keeping you busy these days?
Oh, a whole lot. Nothing. A whole lot of nothing really. We got conference coming. We got real estate. We got all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Nothing, eh?
Nothing.
Everything has a 7-figure budget.
Exactly.
I don't know if anyone calls that nothing.
Oh man, yeah, it is. It's just just trying to figure out how to fill up my time and take myself away from the family as much as possible. No, I'm just joking. Just craziness.
Which is hilarious because you coach your child's hockey team.
Yeah, well,
you're not busy enough.
Yeah, I added on the coaching, so we're on the ice a whole bunch, and what else am I? Oh, I'm writing a book, like all this kind of stuff. So
writing a book too?
Oh yeah, the huge history nerd kind of stuff, right? So
history of what?
Oh. Yeah.
So buildings, what?
No. So it's I'm writing. I'm doing a book on the 8th Regiment of Foot during the War of 1812. So I'm basically covering the regiment from 1810 to 1816. So it's a very geeky nonfiction, like historical type of study.
Okay, hang on. Refresh my memory. It's been a long time since grade 10 high school.
Yeah.
History. What was the War of 1812?
Yeah, so the War of 1812, it was fought between Great Britain and the U.S. So it really stemmed...
like Boston Tea Party stuff?
Well, yeah. Well, that was like more of the American Revolution. So fast forward to, 1810, 1811, there was a lot of tension in terms of the, just trade with France, who Great Britain was at war with at the time, and the impressment of American sailors boarding U.S. ships. There was a whole lot of stuff. So the U.S. declared war on Great Britain, and then there was a 3-year and a bit war fought over that.
Only 3 years. They're lucky.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff happened with it. But you look in southwestern Ontario, so you've got Fort Erie, Fort George, and Niagara-on-the-Lake. You've got Fort Niagara, Lundy's Lane. Everybody knows shopping. Yeah. Well, that shopping center is part of it built over a battlefield. So that was one of the bloodiest battles of the war that was fought there.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Because you're not busy enough.
Exactly, not busy enough.
Wait, just to give folks some context, like how many people attended the multifamily conference of last year?
Yeah, so last year we had 2,500 people.
2,500?
Yeah, well, 2,500 and change, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of people. Yeah, and we're going even bigger this year, so it's going to be insane.
Wait, you have a bigger room? How are you going to make this bigger?
No,
you already had a humongous room.
We did, but we added some more square feet, so you'll appreciate this with...
You knocked down a wall?
No. Yeah, so you'll appreciate this with your conference. So we have about 180,000 square feet just on the main floor, and then we have all the rooms underneath. So So you like double that essentially in terms of space. So yeah, we're really big.
Wait. Are you doing 2 stages?
No, still the main stage.
Okay.
But in terms of the room, in terms of and how we configured it, like we can definitely add another 1,000 people.
Right.
Yeah.
What's okay? So actually, let's revisit. So, like last year was the first year you did a whole Friday segment, just for like 101 investment training.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So for context, in our first year, we ran the Saturday, Sunday. So 2 days main stage. It was great. And during just out of the lockdowns.
Yeah, man, that must have been so stressful.
Oh, so stressful.
For a history lesson,
Yeah.
just a few years ago, you were the first big conference out of COVID.
We were, yeah. And the interesting thing, so in terms of venue shopping, everybody kept asking me, hey, why did you run it in a hockey arena and just convert it? Well, the truth is, those guys were the only people who snuck us in during the lockdowns. All the other venues wouldn't let us in the building. But the CAA Center snuck us in, and we did our site tours and all the planning, even though everything was locked down. And that's the only reason we were able to get in there and actually run the event. But what I found the first year was we attracted a decent number of people who were new to apartment buildings. So maybe they were doing fix and flips or some other type of real estate and they didn't understand apartment buildings. So when, first year we had Joe Fairless, let's say, now he's at like 3 billion in AUM. When he was on stage. Yeah.
So he manages a portfolio of 3 billion.
Oh yeah, insane, right? So, but when he's on stage and talking, those newer people weren't able to absorb as much as he was giving out because they didn't have that foundation. So last year we added a Friday workshop for beginners. So this is where, we're going to, hey, just give you all the basic foundational stuff. So that way when, Grant Cardone last year or Alex Rodriguez was on stage talking about their portfolios, you'd be able to follow along a lot better. And that was crazy. We thought we'd have like 300 people. We maxed out room capacity at 500 and something. We couldn't fit more people in. So this year we're splitting it. So we have our beginner workshop, just the same. And then we have an advanced investor workshop where it's more focused on scaling, team growth, brand building at scale, like lead gen at scale, that type of stuff. So, if you're an experienced operator, we have a full day workshop just for you on the Friday. And then if you're kind of new to apartment buildings, full day workshop that's going to bring you up to speed so you can be like 10 steps ahead of everybody else by the time Saturday and Sunday rolls around.
I love how the conference has evolved.
Oh yeah.
Because you always need information. You need data. You do send out surveys. And you need information on how to improve. Yeah. And then to see you delivering on the improvements, that's so cool.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing with anything, any type of product, right? You talk with people face to face. Your good friends will tell you the truth, like right off the bat. But a lot of people, they won't give you the real things that you need to know about. So that's why we always survey, and then we read through, and I read through every single one. Like the team does too, but like I make sure I read through each one, and we actually take it to heart. Like it's like, oh, okay, well we have a decent group of people saying this. Well, how can we change it to make it better? And because I want to, as we scale this conference, like we're scaling this to be the real estate event anybody goes to. And to do that, we have to be the best. Right. So we're always looking to improve.
Because I thought the first conference was incredible.
Yeah, it was good. But like it's first time with anything, right? Like there's always things that you want to improve on. And as you scale, so like 1,000 people versus 3,000 people, there has to be changes behind the scenes in terms of the framework to allow you to scale to that size. So, and that's what we're focused on right now is, hey, how do we deliver the top, the best in class experience, but also be able to impact thousands and thousands of people at one time? Because, when you start adding a lot of people, there's the logistical stuff. You want to make sure everybody feels included, that type of stuff.
Yeah, more things can break.
Man. Yeah. Well, last year, our registration system crashed on the day of. So, like we pay a lot of money for our registration stuff. It's not just like we're not using Eventbrite or like we pay a lot of money for this stuff.
I didn't even notice.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of things go wrong behind the scenes, so our team was incredible. But we had, the one thing I wasn't happy with was people came and we had like the lineup was pretty big. Like we had a lot of people, but the reason is our whole registration system was down. and the conversations after the fact were not good in terms of us for and that system, because hey, like we paid you guys a lot of money to perform, and your system did not perform at all.
Yeah.
And so that just tweaks and making sure now this year, because it happened last year, it's like, okay, well, we're running with a different company, but hey, what happens if this crashes? What's our plan B? And last year we didn't have the plan B. So now it's just like adding in different systems and operations to make sure everything's flawless.
Again, as an observer, like I didn't know it was down, I
yeah.
knew the lineup was long, but they got processed pretty quickly.
Yeah, but like this is like I'm a perfectionist, right?
Yeah.
So
which is hard when you're dealing in this,
sure.
not this size of quantities.
Yeah, like it was great, and like our event is an amazing event. But I like that's my personality. I always want to make it better the next year. So it's like, okay, like generally it was good, but where can we nitpick things to really bring it up to the next level? And that's what we are ruthlessly doing. So yeah, like this year we'll have some changes in terms of how things are run, but it's just to make things better.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And talking about trying to make better, you had Mr. 10X last time.
We did, yeah.
You had Alex Rodriguez, who I think I'm sure many people underestimated him, myself included, because I didn't know his story and everything.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's touch on that for a second, because I got so many messages on Facebook, Instagram, or emails about, hey, why are you bringing Alex? Like, he's just a baseball guy. It's like,
oh, I got better. Certain people were like, oh, didn't he date? He used to date J-Lo, right? That's how they knew him. So they didn't know he was a baseball player.
well, even Darcy was like, who cares about A-Rod? I just want to see J-Lo. And but
who's married to Ben Affleck now? I think.
Yeah.
I don't follow these things, but yeah.
I think I'm not sure, but yeah. But I was so excited to have him on stage because I knew what he was doing. Like with A-Rod Corp, like he's a sharp guy.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He has a great team. He has a great portfolio. And so on stage, I thought, like my personal opinion, I thought he knocked it out of the park, to use a baseball term, right? Like he was great, and a lot of people came up to me after or shot me messages being like, hey, like I had no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
And that was, I was really excited for that, because I could just kind of tell. Everybody kind of knows A-Rod, but they didn't really understand who he was as a business person. And he was playing in the minors, and he got his first duplex. So like he's been in the investing game for a long time. And I think he surprised a lot of people, which is great. I love that. Everybody knows Grant Cardone, but in terms of A-Rod, like he was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had some insider information. That's just my coach was shared with me how she knew many people and who knew A-Rod and already knew he was legit.
Yeah.
So I was actually got the benefit of going in knowing he was incredibly legit.
Yeah.
And now again, talking about trying to beat last year, which is tough when you have Grant.
Yeah.
You have 3 speakers coming out for this year.
Yeah, we got 3 big guns coming out.
Yeah.
And so we've announced, maybe 2.
We should use the word guns because they are Americans.
Oh,
okay,
that's true.
We have 3 headline speakers.
Yeah. So Grant and Alex were exceptional. And one of the things we wanted to make sure that we're doing is keeping it fresh, right? Like a lot of people said, hey, bring Grant back. Maybe we'll look at it next year, but we want to keep it fresh and deliver different perspectives. And I think the lineup we have this year is going to be a lot of fun. So we've got Robert Herjavec, longtime, Canadian immigrant, longtime, star on Dragon's Den, Shark Tank. He's now executive producer of Shark Tank, and he's seen a lot of pitches. So, one of the things with our audience is a lot of people want to learn how they can improve their capital raising skills. So Kevin O'Leary was our first speaker the first year.
And he was awesome.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great.
Did the audience like him?
Oh, yeah.
We really enjoyed him.
Yeah. Kevin scored really, really well.
Okay.
And this is the thing with like marketing. Like we get hate mail all the time. No matter who we bring in as a speaker, we got hate about Kevin O'Leary. We got hate about Grant Cardone. We got hate about A-Rod. And this year we're getting hate too. So it doesn't really matter, right? But we want to keep it fresh so Robert can bring that perspective in terms of the capital raising, the scaling the team, that kind of thing. And then we've got the Wolf of Wall Street himself, Jordan Belfort, coming in. And in terms of like running, like we run sales teams and stuff, in terms of tone and how you can present opportunities and stuff, I don't think there's a better guy. So I'm really looking forward to Jordan, and we've got him set up. So he's going to be running a workshop just for our VIPs. So he's on the main stage, but he's going to run a workshop just for our VIP attendees in terms of how they can structure their capital raising pitches and their presentations, and how they can just interact and converse with possible investors better. I think that's going to be worth the price of admission in itself. So really excited.
Because for anyone who's followed Jordan Belfort's career, they know like if he just stayed clean.
Yes.
Not in his maybe both in his substance abuse and his business.
Yeah, for sure.
Like he had Steve Madden's shoes lined up.
Oh yeah.
Like he could have IPO'd that.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't know how many hundreds of millions he'd be worth.
Oh, huge. And you just look at the sales team he built. Yeah. He was able to take people who were just regular lay people, like laymen, and bring them in, teach them how to sell, and they were incredibly successful. Mm-hmm. Things went off the rails 100%, right? Like he did his time. But if you look past it and look at, hey, like what's he actually saying? Like what value can he bring? Mm-hmm. Like we've learned so much in terms of how we run our sales team from what he's done. So I'm really excited to have him come in for sure. And plus he's got a couple good stories too. So.
Are you gonna ask the cliche? Is he gonna do the cliche? Sell me this pen?
No.
Is he sick of it?
Well, like we're going to take it to a totally different place with it, and yeah. Well, say Erwin. So if somebody asks you to sell me this pen, what's the right answer? All right, Erwin, sell me this pen. What's the right answer there?
You have a pen?
I don't have a pen.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I stole from the movie.
Well, the best answer is, how long have you been in the market for a pen?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you go into discovery.
Yeah.
So
I led it with a question. Do you have a pen?
100%. Yeah.
Come on, I got this.
100%. Like so many people are like, oh yeah, this pen's amazing, blah blah. Well, you don't even
straight
know.
To the cell.
Yeah, you don't even know if the person wants the pen or not.
Yeah. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I think the lesson out of Jordan Belfort is at least to me is that if you just keep it clean mm-hmm. and play the long game, you'll be I'm a guy. I own Steve Madden's shoes.
Yeah,
I like the product, and he could have taken that. He could have been the company that took it public.
100%. Yeah,
and if he kept some stock, I don't even know how many hundreds of millions he'd be worth.
100%. And you just look at in terms of even just the sales training side, he has so much to offer in terms of how you structure a pitch, how tone and how you can influence people and all that kind of stuff. You're selling every day. What if you go on a date, you're selling. If you talk with your kids, you're selling. If you talk with your spouse, you're selling. You talk with a prospect, you're selling. So that goes such a long way.
He sold people on his script in his book.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. So I'm really excited. Not only have Robert come in, but also Jordan. I think they're going to be fantastic. And then the third speaker at this time we haven't announced, but by the time this comes out, so we've got Grant's wife Elena Cardone coming, and she is bringing so much to the conference this year because most people don't know this. Grant touched on it a little bit last year in the VIP room, but Elena was the person who pushed him to go big with everything and start raising money. So we're getting the brains behind the operation, so to speak. And she brings so much in terms of how couples can work together to build an empire, and her roles in the company and what she's doing. So really excited to have a really strong woman on stage. So she is the third.
Yeah, I saw her speak at 10X conference back in Miami, and she's excellent. And I think she has an important story to share.
Yeah.
Not every entrepreneur partner in the couple needs to be the person that's out in front.
The face, yeah.
Right? They're you agreed we talk about loss, but for example, the gentlemen who have that portfolio up in Northern Ontario that's failing they didn't have anyone watching the business closely to make sure everything was running properly.
Yeah, and that's so important. And quite honestly, the person behind the scenes is you could argue more important than the face, right? Like, even with our organization, I'm the face, but you need to have really solid people in the background, making sure that that person's supported and they have everything they need, right?
Batman has the Oracle. Like, everyone needs that person in the chair who spends most of their time in the chair to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah, right? 100%. So I think it's going to be a really unique perspective that Elena is bringing. And you can notice, like, each one of our keynotes this year has something different, like a different spin or a different angle, because we want to make sure people are getting not just like the same message all the way through. Like, everybody has something unique they can offer, and depending on where you're at in terms of scaling your portfolio or where you're at, you can get something else from everybody.
So I want to touch on your own investment journey.
Yeah.
This is, I forget how many times you've been on the show now. So anyone wants, I don't want to spend too much time on stuff you've already spoken about.
Yeah.
For example, I believe the first episode we did together was, I think, like 2019.
It was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
And the title was Worst Joint Venture Ever. So if folks want to listen to that, just give us like the 30-second version of.
Yeah. So went through a messy separation and basically lost everything, and that was the shittiest time of my life. And started from complete scratch. So we were kind of talking off air about challenges when people have and how it actually like helps them perform better. 100%. So I kind of went through the ringer, and a lot of really bad stuff happened, but I survived out the other side, and I would not be doing what I'm doing today if that hadn't have happened. Hadn't have happened. So in one way, it was kind of good because it gave me a different perspective on life and how things work. And I tell everybody now, they're like, "Oh, Seth, like, aren't you scared like running the conference and doing all this big stuff?" I'm like, I really don't give a fuck anymore, because if I survive that, I can survive basically anything at this point, right? Yeah.
And so to give some more context and history, you had a portfolio of properties
in
Ontario.
Yeah. So we did like lots of, like, we were doing like residential stuff, and then that kind of all blew up. So listen to that podcast for all the nitty gritty details. But yeah, it was just a bad situation, and that was liquidated, and then basically started from square one.
So when you start from square one, I noticed you didn't do anything else in Canada in terms of investing.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on the decision why not to do Ontario? And I have all these Alberta bulls telling me, why don't you do Alberta?
Yeah, for sure. So when that happened, I already knew I wanted to do multifamily and apartment buildings. That's really where I was.
They have those in Canada, Seth.
They do.
I don't know if anyone told you.
They do. But I think, and this is kind of what I found, and when we're raising little bit of a tangent here, but when we're raising money for a deal, we found that an American investor will make a decision quicker and invest more money than a Canadian. So like we've
I can
got,
see that.
Yeah, we've got, and even with the conference, like, we track all this stuff. A Canadian will take usually 2 weeks longer from becoming a lead before they purchase than an American. So like very different outlooks and personalities. Like, obviously it's a generality, but that's on the whole.
It's not the first I heard. Generally, Americans are more entrepreneurial.
For sure,
more risks.
100%,
including their government will take more risks.
Yeah,
as well.
100%. So when I started looking for people to help me and teach me the apartment building investing side, I went to the States. A couple of reasons. Number one, I didn't really know, or I didn't know of any larger person in Canada doing it at a large scale. Obviously, there are people doing it, but I didn't know at the time.
And a lot of them are buying in the States anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember, I won't mention, but I bought this like apartment building investing course from a very well-known organization, and I got a binder in the mail. So it was this huge, thick binder, and it was like, I think $1,500 or something like that. And I was like, are you kidding me? I just paid $1,500 for this binder. I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I found a couple people who were doing it at scale in the U.S., and I never really looked back. So all of the kind of the training stuff, the inside kind of scoop I've got was always U.S. focused. And to me, it makes a lot of sense. You look at Canada versus the US, we are a drop in the bucket. Just population size, GDP, like there is no comparison. And so if you're looking to build a sizable portfolio and raise a lot of capital, yeah, you can do it in Canada, but like we just want to go to the bigger market, and it made a lot of sense.
And just to add to that, making more sense, like you mentioned GDP. So then I'll just go further, like GDP per capita.
Oh, for sure.
Meaning per person.
100%.
And then you add to that, each American generally costs less than a Canadian as well.
Yes.
For example, you probably, like, what is the minimum wage for Florida? So, for example, minimum wage in Texas is $7.25 an hour.
Very different from Ontario.
Which is about $10 versus, what is it in Ontario, 16?
Oh, maybe even 16 and change.
End of the day, so a minimum wage, a Canadian is, in Ontario is 60% more, costs more.
Oh, 100%. Like our labor's more expensive. We can argue that our government policy makes the cost of living more expensive. Like that's a totally different episode, but 100%.
And I'll just add to that, like I think most people are familiar with where immigration comes from in the States, and it's generally lower end.
Yeah.
And while people, I'm not going to get political.
Yeah.
Let's just talk straight economics. An economy benefits from lower end, like so. For example, take Canada. Our skill level is quite ubiquitous. It's quite even. Mm-hmm. We don't have that lower end.
Yeah. But we need it.
We need it, right?
Yeah.
I don't need someone with a university degree to make my burger.
Yeah.
Right. Someone who's worth $7.25 an hour should have that job.
Yep.
Right. And the equivalent would be $10 an hour in here. Someone should have that job, and then the economy all moves better.
Yeah, 100%. Right?
And the Americans have plenty of that.
Oh, 100%. And then you just like, this is the thing that really, like when you're looking for a visual, pull up a list of all the Canadian major metros with over 1 million people.
Yeah.
It's a short list.
Yeah. Especially if it's two.
Yeah, 100%.
Then it's only three.
Yeah.
There's only 3 cities.
Which is insane. Then you look at, pull up the U.S. list, major metros over 1 million people. Insane. Mm-hmm. And that just shows you how small we really are. Yeah. And you look at, and it's not just like in real estate, in business, like as soon as you can, and if a Canadian company can enter the U.S. market, the potential is so much greater.
Let's just give a quick example. We were talking before we were recording.
Yeah.
So I want the question to the listener, to our 17 listeners. Which city do you think is bigger? In terms of like Greater Vancouver, I'm going to talk to the camera.
Okay, all right.
Which city is bigger, Greater Vancouver or Greater Tampa Bay, Florida?
Put it in the chat. Before we give the answer, put it in.
So for the listener, I want you to think about it. Like, so which one do you think is bigger? But the fact that I'm asking, I'm pretty sure they're going to guess which one's bigger. Yeah. So remind me, what was Tampa? What was Tampa again?
Tampa is what? 2.3 million, I think. Oh no, 3.2.
I think you said 3.2
before
recording.
Yeah.
Before recording.
Yeah.
And then, because I think I messed you up because Vancouver's about 2.7.
That's right. Yeah. And then and then DFW was 7.6.
Good Lord, is that big?
Yeah, 7.6 for
so
the MSA.
GTA.
Yeah. So that's Dallas, Fort Worth, and Arlington.
That's bigger than the Greater Toronto area.
Oh, huge, right? So like that's just one city.
Yeah. Our economic capital.
Yeah.
Of Canada is smaller than Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, and you look at
and then if you want to compare GDP, it's not even
close. Well, you look at just the state of Florida, right? So it's insane. So with us, obviously, we have big aspirations, right? And so for all of those reasons, it makes more sense for us to help Canadians move their capital to the States because there's a large interest in that. Yeah. And then
if your priority is to maximize your return, reduce your risk, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, for sure. Like
if we're talking about real estate.
Yeah. Well, why not invest in the largest capitalistic juggernaut there is in the world, the USA, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I've talked about this many times. Like Texas they have they're bringing 6,000 jobs on just in microchip manufacturing. It might be 8, and so the amount of job growth just in Texas alone is just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, and you look at those types of states, people are kind of fleeing the coast because of policy and affordability. So if you have a family
and natural disasters,
and natural disasters, yeah. So you're looking for work, you're looking for an affordable place to raise a family, you're looking for a good community, So there's so much opportunity. in those states. And we look at Canada, then we can talk about the whole rent control thing. So in Ontario, BC, you've got province-wide rent control. In the States, you've got rent control in California. But rent control in California isn't as onerous as rent control in Ontario.
Really?
Everybody complains about rent control in California.
Yeah.
Well, they don't know that in Ontario, it's even worse, right? So, just on the policy side.
What is rent control in California?
So rent control in California, I don't want to misspeak here, but I'm pretty sure it is tied to some type of index. I'm going to say something wrong here because we don't even look in California.
Okay. We don't even look.
But in terms of like the comparison, when I went through step by step, it's like, oh shit. Like Ontario is a lot more onerous in terms of like the restrictions and everything. So I don't want to misspeak, but
that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Because rent control is also a broad term, just like rental licensing. It's every municipality does it differently. For example, there's one state in the U.S. I don't remember the name of it, but their rent control is you may not go over 10% rent increase.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. So and then we can look at the history of rent control, right? So we have to go all the way back to World War I when rent control was instituted on a massive scale. But that was because we were rebuilt. Europe was rebuilding from World War I. Like it was destroyed. We have rent control. Government steps in, and government stepped in terms of many different produce industries and everything too. But that's really where it started. And then it's a good talking point in the elections. It sounds good, but if you look, like there's a number of studies that show that I've looked at it. A market without rent control, rents are actually more affordable, and you have a better product because you have more incentive for people to reinvest. Right. So yeah, we can go on that tangent forever.
I want to go more tactical because you're actually living it. Because your properties in the States, I imagine, because you're talking about Sunbelt.
Yeah, for sure.
Sunbelt is, from what I'm reading on Twitter. Shout out Jordan Parsons. Sorry. Shout out Jason Parsons on Twitter, who's in the space. His tweets are excellent. There's his wonderful reports he puts out there. From what I'm reading is that just like the pendulum swings, when the Sunbelt states got really hot, a lot of builder developers were building these properties, whatnot.
Yep.
And so right now they're at a point of overbuilt.
Yep.
And so rents have come down, and there's no rent control. But I just said rents have come down.
Yeah, the market takes care of itself.
Yeah.
Like that, and yeah. So depending, you look at places like Orlando, you've got oversupply for sure.
Yeah.
But the market, that's the ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And that's what creates opportunities. No matter which stage of the cycle you're in, like there's opportunity as long as you're in it for the long term, right? Yeah.
So can you share what markets you're focused in and why?
Yeah, so we are really hot on Tampa, right? Like we are trying so hard to get into Tampa right now. We feel there's a lot of runway left. We like the markets. But we like the area. We like what's going on in terms of the economy. We like the policy in place. So we are fighting tooth and nail to get into Tampa. So we should have an announcement to make pretty soon on that. But like we are working so hard to get in there.
I imagine you're not the only ones. Like Tampa's been growing like crazy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there is a fair amount of competition for sure. Like it's like any market, right? Any market that has a lot of runway left, like you're going to be competing there. So Paul, our acquisitions director, he's been working really hard, and he looks at like every deal there is. Also, like we'll look at a number of other different markets in and around Florida, but yeah, we are trying so hard to get our first one in Tampa.
What kind of property are you looking for in Tampa?
Yeah, so our buy box is at value add, Class B type of asset, and we'll look at anything from 100 units to about 300 units, give or take. And that's a range where we feel really confident in, so we're able to do the raise there. That's within our skill sets, and we're looking for that traditional value add. So we can come in depending on some of the deals that we've been looking at. It's either an operational play or there's a physical improvement side. Oftentimes a combination of both, but we're looking for a place where we can acquire the asset. Give something back to the community, make it better, and improve it for everybody. So not only for us and our investors, but also the people living there. Mm-hmm. Right? We're giving them safer, better housing.
Can you elaborate what a B class property is?
Oh, for sure. So when we're talking about commercial real estate and in multifamily specifically, you'll hear all sorts of ways of describing things. But generally speaking, you'll have Class AA, which is going to be the best location in a major metropolitan city center, like the best location there ever is. That's the Class AA, brand new asset. Then you have a Class A asset. Generally, you're going to be within 10 years old, top of the line amenities. Everything's like top notch. Like it's a great location, great building, top quality.
You could probably attract doctors and lawyers as
Oh,
tenants.
for sure. Yeah. That's you're going to have your higher income people there. That's where, depending on the market, you'll have like your granite countertops, like really nice stuff. Class B is going to be, let's call it, in that 20-year-old type of range. It used to be a Class A, but now it's just older. You won't have the same modern amenities because it's 20 years removed, but still solid property, good location. It's just a little bit older. You have a little bit of deferred maintenance there that you have to go in, and that's really what we're looking for. That good quality asset where we can come in and improve it, bring it up. Maybe it's got, the last time the kitchens were done was 2005, so we can come in and improve it, do the kitchen renos, change the landscaping, bring it back to life, that type of thing. Then you have Class C and Class D. Class C, you have more deferred maintenance. Like you can tell when you see it, it's like, it needs some love. Amenities are very few because it is older. And then Class D, like you've got, it's really rough at that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the different classes. So we really like to live in that Class B space. Good quality assets, stable assets. We're not acquiring a place where there's like 20% occupancy where you have to go in with a bulletproof vest or anything like that. But yeah, good quality assets and good locations.
Something went very wrong if you're only at 20% vacant. Like
Exactly.
Something's very wrong.
Well,
Sounds
yeah.
like city housing where
Yeah, or like sometimes you have a fires rip through like a bunch of buildings and stuff. And
like a roof is leaked or a massive infestation of some sort.
Yeah, and those are heavy lifts, and that's not our buy box at all. Like there's people who will take those on, and that's all the power to them, but that's not kind of what we're looking
and buy
for.
box is the corporate lingo for this. These are our field posts, and
Yeah.
we buy within it.
Yeah, for sure. Because when we're meeting with a new potential relationship in terms of on the brokerage side or a lender, they usually ask, "Hey, what's your buy box?"
Yeah.
Basically, they're saying, "Hey, what are you looking for?"
And to talk like a pro, you need to know the lingo.
Yeah, you kind of throw the lingo around. But yeah, it's just we're looking for that 100 to 300 unit range. Class B, traditional value add. That's really our bread and butter.
Any amenities you're adding, and can you share what they would be?
Yeah, right. So like adding a gym, perfect, right? Because especially when you have markets where you have a younger demographic moving in, people work out now. Like you need a gym, and that one treadmill in the corner doesn't cut it. So at a gym, you can replace. Tennis courts are, kind of passé. So take out the tennis court.
Put in pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball. Yeah, pickleball.
I'm just joking. Is that really a thing?
Well, actually, there have been some properties where they have they've put the pickleball on the tennis court, so nobody plays tennis anymore. So that is true. And then you can take out those tennis courts. You can add a playground if you have lots of families on site, or you can add a barbecue pit. I love the barbecue. Like I love barbecuing. So do you. I see all the briskets you do. So
especially if you're in Texas or Florida.
100%.
Floridians love barbecue too.
They do. I'm heading to Miami on Thursday, and we're hitting up a new barbecue place for the entire trip.
Right.
So so basically, you want to look at your tenant profile and really understand, hey, like what do these people need? Like what's going to attract them? And if it's not a tennis court, well, what types of people are living here? Are there families? Well, throw in a splash pad, throw in a playground. Make it a community people want to live. That type of stuff.
Yeah, I like the barbecues. I enjoy it, and also all my guests love it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so
right?
Barbecue pit.
So let's say you have a younger demographic. Like in their late 20s and 30s, you got some families, but throw in a couple barbecue pits, make it really nice, add some pergolas, some seating around. The family can come down. You can cook on the grill. You can have a little party. It's great for community appreciation nights. So you can bring in a couple chefs. They'll cook food for all the residents there. Like you can make it good, right? Yeah.
Is there more to a buy box? Like, is there a price per unit? Is there a cap rate you want to get in at, and then what you want to your ARV, all those sorts of things?
Yeah, good question. So we don't really look at cap rate. That's not really one
we're
of the
gonna offend
things.
some people.
Well, yeah, but
They're all about the cap rate.
Oh man. So and generally, so I've been very fortunate in that I've been able to build relationships with some very successful multifamily investors, like very, very successful. And I don't ever hear them talk about cap rate. So there must be something to that. They're looking for, hey, how can I create value in the deal? That's what they're focused on. And what can I control? Because we can't control interest rates. We can't control government policy. But what you can control is what you buy the property at, what renovations you do, when you do the renovations, like your business plan, your marketing, you can control that stuff. So that's what they focus on. So, price per unit, again, like that's so subjective because, price per unit, you could have, a B plus versus a B minus asset. The price per unit is going to be different. So you have to look at a number of different metrics, right? You have to look at your IRR for the deal, internal rate of return. You have to look at your cash on cash because that's going to give you your annual return. And then you want to look at your equity multiples. Like we attack it from price per square foot. You attack it from all sorts of different ways because each metric will tell you the same story in a different way.
Yes.
So yeah, we don't look at cap.
You need multiple data points to make a decision.
100%. It's not like, oh yeah, we only buy at a 6 cap. Well, but why though? What does that mean?
Yeah.
So basically what we're looking for is we're looking for a good quality asset in a good location. Maybe there's been some mismanagement. Maybe it's part of a greater portfolio and it wasn't getting the love and attention it needed. Maybe we see an angle where we can improve the marketing. Maybe we see a trend in the area where that asset hasn't really caught on to it. So hey, if we make these changes, we can attract this huge demographic that's now moving in. So it's really like any business. Like what's your SWOT analysis?
Mm-hmm.
Like what can you offer, and what changes can you make in the deal that other people aren't necessarily seeing?
All right. SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Yeah, 100%, right? So, and if you're acquiring an asset and across the street is a brand new, 450 unit Class AA asset, and you're looking to take your B plus asset to an A, that's going to be a huge threat. So you probably don't want to do that. But if you have a Class A asset across the street and you're in that Class B, totally different markets, and you'll actually get business from the Class A asset when they price people out. They'll come over. So you have to look at everything together. So it's hard to say, I only buy at an 8 cap. Well, I would argue that's not a sophisticated way of looking at real estate. Like you're pigeonholing yourself on one metric,
yes.
and you're missing out on what's really going on, right?
Yeah, and we talk about loss. We talk about loss before recording during this as well. Like for example, with the folks who are losing their shirts up in Northern Ontario, like I don't think they probably understood their IRR, nor their internal rate of return, nor their cash on cash.
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting vacant, there ain't no cash on cash.
No.
There's no negative cash on cash.
Yeah, and like even IRR. So like a lot of investors on the LP side, so passive investors, one of the first questions they'll ask is, hey, like what's the IRR or what's the equity multiple in the deal? But like IRR tells such an important story because it tells you the time value of money for how the money's locked into the deal, right? So I always use examples where, hey, like here's deal A, you get X amount per year. Or here's deal B. You get a slightly larger chunk in year 2, and then you make a little bit less money. Well, the IRR is actually higher because you have more capital being returned sooner.
Exactly, yeah.
And then there's opportunity costs. You can invest in different opportunities and all that kind of stuff. So, so whenever we're speaking with people, you have to tell the whole story. So you're looking at many, many different things.
I hope all investors appreciate IRR, internal rate of return. It's incredibly important whenever you're whenever your investment plan includes a refinance.
100%.
And some return of capital.
100%.
Because like a straight return on investment calculation Are you doing the return on calculation based on today or after refinance?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too. So what we found is, because as markets get tighter, like our rule of thumb is we never promise a refinance in a deal, ever, because it may or may not happen. We just saw this the past couple of years. So if your deal like lives or dies based on a refinance, that's not a good deal, right? Because that refi may not be happening. So when you're looking at your IRR, you want to look at IRR without the refi, and then you have your best case scenario. Hey, if we do refinance in year 3, this is what your IRR will look at that point. But you never want to bank on having the refinance, because it may not happen. Yeah.
So we're talking a lot about U.S. investing right now, and you actually have data to back that up. Like, for example, before we're recording, you mentioned 70% of your audience wants to hear about U.S. investing.
Oh yeah, with the conference, huge appetite, and
this is majority Canadians you're surveying as well.
Yeah. That's our Canadian audience.
So I'll apologize. I know this is a Canadian real estate show, but like 90% of my audience wants to hear about U.S. investing, and you have 70% want to hear about U.S. investing.
Yeah, huge topic.
So apologies, we're not talking about Canada right now.
Yeah,
we're talking about Canadians investing in the U.S.
Yeah, and you look at content we produce and everything. Every time we talk about U.S. investing for Canadians, it pops every single time. So there is a huge demand for that knowledge, and quite honestly, I think it's a number of things. Number one, obviously the size and all that kind of stuff, but also there's not a lot, if you're a Canadian looking to invest in the U.S., there's not a lot of good material there to help you, because 99.9% of stuff is made for a U.S. audience. So if you're Canadian, it doesn't necessarily line up with what's best for a Canadian investing in the U.S. So if we're able to produce top quality content, like you do a lot of stuff, like we pump out a lot of stuff too. If we're able to deliver quality content geared towards Canadians, I think that's a missing link or a missing piece right now in the marketplace.
And we mentioned GDP earlier. The GDP of Texas is actually very close to the country of Canada.
Oh, but yeah, pretty much. And that's one state.
That's just one state.
Yeah.
The population of Texas is around 30 million.
Yeah.
And the population of Canada is almost 40 million.
Yeah.
It's over 40 million now, but
yeah.
the GDP numbers are a little bit older, so I'm trying to match up population.
Yeah.
So again, the Americans have like 25% less population than us in the same GDP.
Yeah.
The state of Texas alone.
Yeah, it's insane. Like
the research all points to one direction, really.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
The only biggest benefit we have is the biggest benefit to a Canadian investor, especially Ontario or BC, is that we can't build. For whatever reason, we can't build fast enough, so then restricts supply, artificially restricts supply. Hence, we have a demand-supply balance, which drives prices up.
For sure, and there we can go even deeper in that, but like it's not like the housing crisis isn't just reserved for Canadians. Like there's a housing crisis. Like you look in the States, like there are markets where it's hard to get a home. Like it is a challenge. It's a North American challenge. Right?
And Grant in his 2024 review was like, he said, like, we're really short on building.
Oh, huge.
And this year's just we have the Americans have similar problems that we do. Because rates are high, they're not investing, they're not building.
Yep.
And this will bite them on the butt.
Oh, for sure. Like we have such a housing deficit right now in terms of like starts that have to happen. And this is a problem that's going to be around for the next 100 years. Like it's not going away.
It's not going to get better either, because the Americans have trouble staffing builds as well.
Yeah.
No different than us.
Yep. Yeah. We need trades. We need we need competent people who are trained 100%. Yeah.
But the Americans have an advantage in recruiting trades over us.
Well, they do 100%. And like and we can talk about like how governments are angling in terms of who they want to attract and everything. But yeah, for sure.
So I want to bring it. I know you're big and fancy, buying 100 and 300 units at a time. I want to. We have a lot of young listeners, like who are like under the age of 30.
Nice.
So say you were 25 years old. What would be the first property you buy?
Oh man, yeah. So if I could go in a time machine, I would erase the first like 10 years of me in real estate. And so if I could go back. And here's Seth, like reading books, trying to learn about real estate investing. I would slap myself a little bit and say, don't worry about a house, buy an apartment building. Like first deal. And like this is a little bit like controversial, but a lot of people say, oh, well, I want to start with something small because it's safer. I argue the bigger deal is safer than the smaller one. So hear me out. If you're listening right now and you're like, oh, that's crazy, give me a minute to explain. So what a lot of people do, they'll buy their first investment property, maybe it's a single family home, a duplex. They have to qualify for the loan on their own, right? Because it's based on their income. The bank doesn't really care about the income produced by the property. The cash flow is going to be so tight. Number one, it doesn't give you much wiggle room, but also like you're not able to afford real property management because you have to self-manage because the property doesn't produce enough cash flow.
And there's a good chance you're going to screw it up.
Exactly, right. So right off, and then if like a duplex, one tenant moves out, there goes 50% of your revenue.
Yeah.
So for all those reasons, like, yeah, sure, the purchase price is smaller, but you're doing a loan. You have no idea what you're doing. You're going to mess up. And then you have no like wiggle room. Like you're screwed if you make a mistake. Like I remember with one duplex, we had an $8,000 repair bill because of the drain out to the sewer, a tree root like busted through it. $8,000. That was like 3 years of cash flow on this property. Gone. Yeah. Right? Now you go on an apartment building. It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe it's a 25 unit building. Much stronger cash flow, different types of debt you can get on there, right? You're able to have professional management because there's enough money to pay the person. Yeah. So even if you're new, you have a manager who's probably managed 10,000 units. They can guide you and help you out. And plus, because the deal's bigger, there's probably enough meat on the bone to partner with somebody who's done at least a couple deals, and you guys can do the deal together. So, and everybody's better off. It's more stable. You have better cash flow, like all those reasons. So for now, like if I could go back in time, I would push myself, hey, get educated about this world of real estate, like understand how it works, and then go do a big deal right off the bat, like 100%.
What markets are we looking at for this example, hypothetical 25-unit building?
It doesn't matter. Like the market's irrelevant. I have friends who are crushing it in like California. I have friends crushing it in, like Tennessee. Like the market's not important. It's more the market will impact your business plan and what you place important, like what's important to you. If you're a cash flow person and like you don't really care too much about appreciation, you can go into some Midwestern market. Well, the Midwest is pretty hot, but like you have to find out what's important to you, what your goals are for investing, and then you want to find a market that kind of fits that, right?
I think most people are more interested in cash flow these days, with rates being
so high. For sure. Well, cash flow.
Probably not. So California is likely off the table.
Yeah. Well, cash flow is the lifeblood of a real estate deal. Yeah. You need the cash flow. But you want to look at a market that can support itself, that is diverse in terms of its economy. You just don't want an agricultural-based economy. There's not diversity there, or you just don't want oil and gas. Like you need a mix. You need a growth in terms of the population in the right demographic. So if it's the over 55 age group, maybe you might want to think twice unless you're in senior living, right? But you want to have those young workers who are in the prime working years of their lives, who are going to have the families, like who are going to contribute to the economy. Like they're moving there to work. So you want to have good government policy in terms of job creation and how they treat business. Preferably you have a city or an area that is actively trying to recruit businesses to move. You get lots of incentives. Like that's the type of stuff you're looking for. Because if you're talking with an investor and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Investor, I have this deal, it's in this market, this is what it looks like, but like the market, we're losing 5% of people every year. Like that's not a bad market. Yeah, like you want to have some sizzle in there. Oh yeah, like our market is being in the top 10 for growth in the entire country for the past 5 years.
Like the state of Texas.
Right, 100%, right? Like you want a growing economy, and that's what's going to push your deal, give you that extra like push behind your sales. So that was a very long answer, but
I think most people can appreciate like where would a young family or young person want to move to?
Yeah, 100%, right? Yeah.
And then generally they want opportunity, they want to pay less tax, they want lifestyle.
Yep.
So generally that includes good weather, great nature, good schools. Those are the things.
Yeah, 100%, right?
So it's not that hard.
No.
And there's honestly like there's like there's at least 20 fantastic cities we'd both invest in.
Oh, for sure. Like, and like I'm in that demographic now. Well, I'm almost 40, almost there. But it's like, where would I want to live?
Yeah.
Like with my family.
Yeah.
It makes it really easy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to move to California.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
But like you just ask yourself, so if you're 25,
Yeah.
like do the market research. And the thing I've kind of learned the longer I'm involved in this is like, it's not rocket science. You just have to be that much better than everybody else. So a lot of people getting involved in real estate, they're like, oh, well, like I'll just kind of learn. No, like really understand how money is made in real estate. Understand the markets. Like what drives real estate? What are the top investors? What are they doing? How do they look at properties? If you're 25 and you can nail that, like you have such an advantage over the 80%. It's that 80-20 principle.
All those poor people buying pre-construction condos.
Right. Like you have such an advantage. And then if you're able to have, an investor conversation with somebody, and you're able to follow that and deliver value to that person and present things in the right way and have and demonstrate your competence and your knowledge, it goes such a long way.
So you mentioned like when you find the deal you want in Tampa, for example,
yeah,
you're going to raise the capital. Can you elaborate on what is a right mix of cash versus mortgage?
Oh yeah. So it's going to depend on the deal itself, because there's wiggle room there, but generally speaking, we're looking at a 70-30, a 60-40. So what I mean by that is we have 60% debt, 40% equity, or 70% debt, 30% equity. At no time do we, like, you hear people online talking about, oh yeah, I can get a 90% LTV through whatever program. Well, yeah, but that doesn't really insulate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to protect the deal, and you need that equity buffer.
Right. Let's just elaborate on that, because some folks missed that point with the poor folks with all the vacant properties in Northern Ontario. And it's not just them. There's other issues out there. But I just want to elaborate on those deals specifically, because those are 100% loan to value.
Yeah.
There's a first mortgage. I don't know what the rates are. I'm going to guess 6.
Yep.
Which is still expensive. The seconds are like 8. Which bring you up to, I don't even know. I think that brings up, doesn't matter. And then there's promissory notes that are paying like 17%.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no equity in these deals. So just to elaborate how equity gives you buffer is you're not paying any interest on the equity piece.
Exactly.
Which keeps your payments lower.
Yeah, 100%. And depending on how you structure the deal, like you'll have returns that get paid out and everything, but it's a split on the profits of the deal. And really at the end of the day, people get themselves in trouble with lenders because the lender wants to make sure that their money comes back to them. So, and that's why lenders look for a debt service coverage ratio of like 1.25. And what I mean by debt service coverage ratio is, hey, like how much surplus does the property produce in excess of your debt service requirements or your mortgage payments? So a lender's going to want about a $1.25,
right.
1.25. So that way
on the day of acquisition that they
Wow.
Okay.
So that way, like they have that wiggle room. So in case like something happens with the property, occupancy drops, something like that, they know they have a buffer. Because if you're going in at, let's say, 90% debt, that buffer is so small. So all it takes is a dip in the market, and now the lender's scared, and now you start the ugly legal stuff that nobody wants. Yeah. So you need to have that buffer there. Because at the end of the day, let's say worst case scenario, you're planning to exit in year 5, and the market is the worst market we have ever seen. You have equity built up in the deal, like you can weather that storm. The last thing you want is that gun to your head, which is where a lot of operators are or got into last year, where you have short-term debt, expensive debt, market shifted, now they can't get out of that into conventional, and you're stuck. It's either you sell at a loss or you're like taken to the cleaners. So so you want to make sure you're being safe with it. Yeah. And again,
no one went bankrupt for having too much equity.
No, for sure, right? And so that should be a red flag if you're looking at an investment opportunity and they're telling you, oh yeah, we've got 90% debt. Yeah, maybe the numbers look good on a spreadsheet, but in real life, that's not really how it works.
So this is likely the challenge both of you and I are running into as well, because there's a lot of marketing out there for courses that are like heavy debt.
Oh yeah.
Investment strategies. So like I get people asking me like, because my plan is to put like 30 to 45% down on properties in cash.
Yeah.
And people are saying, why so high? Like, what do you mean high? I'm trying to at least break even.
Yeah.
How low can you go?
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you always have to assume, like, what's the worst case scenario? And this is where Paul on our team, like, he's really good at this kind of stuff. Like, we have our model and we try and break it. So we have our underwriting model. Hey, this is our forecast for the next 5 years for the asset. Well, now, like, how can we break this and make the deal fall apart? And then we want to shore up those weaknesses. And so, yeah, going in with high debt is really good if everything's great. But if
everything's gonna be perfect,
right? But nothing ever goes perfectly. So you have to expect some choppy waters in there. And what happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to weather storms.
Yeah.
And everyone who weathers storms usually have heavy equity or massive cash reserves, or on the small scale, people still have their day jobs and their 6-figure jobs, so money's still coming in.
Yep, 100%.
All right. Seth, you've been so generous with your time. Where can people learn more about Multifamily Conference?
Yeah, the best way about the conference is just go to multifamilyconference.ca. And we've got all the stuff. You can see all the speakers. We're in our speaker rollout right now, so we're always announcing new speakers. And it's May 24th to 26th in Toronto. So it's coming up pretty soon.
Fantastic. I can't wait to be there. It's like a reunion.
It is.
Yeah, it's unfortunately like you're just mad. Everyone wants your time that day, but for the schmoes like me, it's just nice to see all my friends there.
Well, you're a celebrity, so
no, hardly. Not like the folks on your stage. And your podcast is restarting?
Yeah. So we ran for like 450 episodes before.
Holy cow.
Yeah. It ran for a long time, and then
That's a lot.
Yeah. So we're totally new. We're taking a different angle on it, and it's called the Cool Shit Podcast. So because one of the things before is we were just real estate, and I didn't think I didn't feel it gave me the leeway to talk with some really interesting people who I wanted to speak with. So now we're talking with people who are pushing boundaries in their niches and in their spaces, real estate, but also we just interviewed a really cool musical artist about kind of how the music industry works and how she's making headway there. So that's really cool stuff to me. So it's more general business, and that aligns well with all the stuff we're doing on my end too. Yeah.
It was in the news that Rod Stewart estimate. No one knows. These are private deals, but Rod Stewart sold his song catalog. For $100 million.
It's insane. And actually, we were just golfing at the golf simulator with a guy who
Steve,
on his shelf he has music rights. It's a fund, and I think that's so cool. And so we can talk with people about that. And I just want to speak with people who are doing really cool shit in their space. Yeah,
who are making money. Making money is to me nothing more fun than making money.
Yeah.
Seth, thanks so much for doing this. Oh, I always want to give my guests a final chance, the final word. Any final thoughts? We're recording this February 20th.
Yep.
A lot of turmoil right now. Actually, inflation. I don't know if you caught this morning. Canada's inflation rate came in well below expected, 2.9.
Oh no, I did not see that.
It just broke this morning from Stats Canada.
Yeah.
So, things might be picking up real soon.
Yeah. Well, we it was kind of interesting. So, Grant and Alex last year at the conference, both of them had really big targets for the next, 12, 18 months. Grant wants to double his portfolio. And I think, the opportunity presenting itself now, I think we're setting ourselves up. If you take some action now, 2-3 years from now, I think you're in a really, really good spot.
Yeah. I know you didn't have this shark. Barbara Corcoran was saying that the American market's going to bounce back as soon as we have cuts.
Yeah.
Which are expected for pretty soon. That's actually weird because Canada cut first. Canada increased rates first.
Yeah.
And everyone was expecting the Canada cut before the Americans, but right now it's looking like the Americans might cut before we do.
Yeah, and then depending on election results too, depending on who gets in, I would expect some pretty aggressive policy if the Donald gets in there to kick.
Policy's already aggressive, man.
Well, yeah, but it's the Donald. He'll go in.
What more can he do? And if because long-term forecasts already for the. I promised the last words.
Yeah.
I don't know if what your research is showing me, but my research for the Canadian dollar is it is expected to perform poorly against the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, and that's
over the long term.
Yeah, and like we talk with people who are way smarter than I'm down here. We talk with really smart people, and they concur with exactly what you're saying.
Because how Canada benefits from the U.S. growth is, we build our pipelines, we get our oil, and we mine our minerals. Yeah, we're still the hewers of the land and the sea. We're not investing, we're not building anything.
No,
we're just harvesting what we got in the ground.
I want my money in USD, 100%. Yeah.
Because I promised you the last word, but
it's all good.
But I was playing with we were playing with Google's AI tool. I forget the name of it. It used to be called Bard. They renamed it like Genesis or something like that, whatever. But it's like, wow, this is pretty impressive. And I was already over the top with ChatGPT and and then OpenAI came out with stop me if you've heard this before. OpenAI just released that they can now do text to video. Did you see the video?
I saw that. Yeah, they had two pirate ships sailing on a coffee cup, and that's really cool. So
it was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Did you see the one where the text prompt was like a drone video of Gold Rush, California?
No, I didn't see that one. No.
It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It was like your drone video going over the river, and on each sides of the river is like housing and people dressed in that era.
Yeah.
And all in the prompt was just a few words.
Yeah, it's
it was incredible.
What's going to happen over the next 10 years? Yeah. I don't think we'll be able to recognize marketing and creation of assets in 10 years from now. It's going to be insane. Yeah.
And so where I'm going with this is I'm not smart enough to build anything with AI or an AI tool or nothing like that.
Yeah.
But what I do know is I saw an article that Sam Altman himself, the president, CEO, whatever, leader of OpenAI, he's trying to raise $10 billion to build microchip manufacturing, because he still sees there's going to be a shortage.
Yeah.
We need our own microchips, even though the Americans are going to be building microchips like crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm not smart enough to do make money off the microchip stuff and the AI stuff and all this sort of stuff, but I'm smart enough to buy a house near one of these manufacturing facilities, right? So that these really smart people working at these places can rent from me or buy my house.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Not going to overcomplicate anything.
Yeah, just keep it simple and collect the rent checks. That's all you have to do.
And forget about it.
Yeah.
Don't overthink this. Seth, so thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. And that hoodie looks really good. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for the folks who are listening, Seth brought in swag. So to encourage people to bring more swag, I'm wearing swag while on the show. Thank you, Seth.
Sweet. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. That link's also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.